Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. Today I have a special guest coming to us from India with a project that's looking incredible. Now I covered it the other day and I did a video on it called If Blockchain and Uber Had a Baby. Now I'm very excited to speak to them because this project really got my attention and I did have some questions about it. I'm highly interested in the details of this and very interested in the project itself. So if we could help me welcome in the CEO. I want to make sure I say it right. Firdosh Sheikh.
Yeah.
All right. My pronunciation isn't perfect, but I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. Now, some of my audience, they saw some about your
Uh-huh.
project and they wanted to know more about the team. And I always love to know more about the team itself because the
Mm-hmm.
idea and the concept was very appealing to me. So thank you for joining us so
Thank
that,
you. Thank you so much.
yeah, I can ask you some questions and they can get a feel for your team. Now,
Mm-hmm.
so the company itself is Drife.
Yep.
Obviously, people realized by the title of the previous video, if blockchain and Uber had a baby, then it probably had to do with ride sharing. Can you
Yes.
can you share with the audience the overall problems that you're trying to solve?
Yeah. Sure. So actually, my journey started 2 years back when I was traveling with an Uber driver. It was mid driver when I boarded the cab. He said, like, can you cancel the trip? I'll still take you to the airport, and you can pay me $100 less. And that was shocking for me because that's something never happened with me. Then I asked him, like, why are you asking me to, do this? And this driver told me for the fare that I was paying to Uber, he was only getting 55% of that ride fare. So I was paying around 1500 INR bucks, for which he was only getting 750. And it was like shocking for me because when Ola is a local company in India, they came as a ride sharing platform and they said, like, this is a technological disruption. And there was a news all around that they're actually uplifting this whole driver community. But, like, 10 years down the lane, what we're seeing is drivers struggling to make their livelihood. And that actually got stuck in my head. And after that, every day I was traveling with a driver, I started asking them question about how much are you making? Are you happy with the platform? And every other driver had the same story to tell about how they feel stuck in this vicious circle of paying huge commission because every ride sharing platform works on a similar business model of charging commission. That's how my whole journey of Drive started, where I said, like, why there has to be commission. If somebody is providing platform, why don't they actually charge for the platform? But as we started digging deeper in our own journey of Drive, we realized the problem is not about commission. The problem is about existence of a central entity who's controlling everything and anything in this ecosystem. Ride sharing platforms started with manipulating the ecosystem for their profit motive to a point now where they actually exploit the value creators for their profit motive. Now, there's this saying that goes around which says, ride sharing platforms have grown with this mentality that greed is good. And that's where value creators are actually getting exploited. No doubt they have become multi-billion-dollar companies today, but the actual value creator who took them to that level, that are the driver, are still suffering to make their livelihood. Drivers in India are facing a lot of problem even to pay the EMI of their car. So yeah, that actually led me to start my whole journey of building something which is called Drive now. Obviously, initially, I never had something like, will I want to do it on blockchain or build a decentralized Uber. Nothing was in my head. I had only one thing in my head that I want to build something which can give driver access to 100% of the fare that a rider pays. But as we went ahead, we realized, okay, this is blockchain. We can use it for certain things to enable this feature in the platform. And then the whole concept of decentralization came in place, where we said, like, tomorrow there could be a possibility that I might become someone like Uber itself, do some same thing if I will be in control. And that's where we say, like, it's important that we don't control things, we don't decide for people. And that's where the whole concept of franchisee that we have, where we actually give up the operations to only take care of the technology stack and local people actually take care of running the operation for Drive. So yeah, quite a long journey for us. Like I said, I started with this journey 2 years back, which spent a lot of time building this, because come on, building a ride sharing platform in itself is a very exhaustive task. There's so many things that goes on. And then we had this idea of doing it on blockchain, using blockchain within the application, which added another level of difficulty to build this. But yeah, as now when I'm speaking with you, we have fully developed our driver and rider application, which use blockchain to do fare calculation, allocate drivers, fully ready, tested with a close group of driver and rider as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's about us.
great answer. Now, I wanted to ask you a tough question. We're talking about those central entities. There are a few big
Yeah.
ones, and it's very competitive with some big money already in the space behind some of these centralized competitors. What is your competitive edge that will help give your idea traction against such deep pockets?
Yeah. So, the basic idea was always to empower this community, the community which actually interact with each other, but are only sharing value among themselves, not reward. The reward has been taken out from this community. The idea of Drive is to empower this community and give back the rights that belong to them. And in our journey, when we started, obviously, I even had this question like, how will convince people to use Stripe as a platform? What kind of money it will need? Because these guys have spent huge money. They have like literally burned money to get people on board. But this is not the scenario anymore. We are not sitting back in 2013 or 2014 where I have to educate everyone, make aware that how to use a ride sharing platform. So there's a lot of things. The whole learning process is already done, be it for driver and rider. It's just we have to make them understand how we are different and how their advantage is for someone to not use other platform but use Drive as an application, because this is something which is keeping the money of the community back in the community itself, because we don't have a profit motive, we don't charge anything from the fare, we'll never manipulate the system to our advantage so we take out the money. For driver it is very simple, we are telling the story that drivers are asking for. These are their demands, across the globe we see drivers going on strikes asking for things like, reduce the commission, give us more power, you know uh, do things for us. Nobody's listening to them. And we have built something after listening to all their queries. We actually ran surveys with 1,000 plus drivers to understand what problem they face and plug those things into the application, build it in a way that it actually solve those problems. Just don't build Uber on blockchain, because it won't solve any problem and nobody's going to use it. That is something I was very sure of. For riders, obviously it is a customer centric environment. We are a B2C platform, and customer has the psychology of working in certain ways. We know first time anybody will use my platform is for a fact that I'm giving a ride free. And the idea has to go in phases, where first we have to bring people on board and then tell them what is different, how we are different. So that's how we are working with driver and rider. I guess there is something that we have done for bringing loyalty, because be it driver and rider, they're not loyal to any platform. If there are two application in your place, driver will use both of them. As a rider, I'll see both the prices and compare it and see who's giving me a cheaper deal, and I'll travel with that. But with
Mhm.
Drive, actually we are building in loyalty in place, where you actually start earning for every ride that your network takes. So it actually opens up a source of passive income for both driver and rider. So assume as a driver, if you introduce 10 driver to the network, every time this driver is making ride, you're making money. So because we don't have a profit motive, we're able to redistribute the profit to the driver and rider itself. So everybody opens up source of passive income, and you have a motivation to tell people around you to use Drive, because you will make money when they ride. And it's a lifetime thing. Till the time you are using Drive platform into the ecosystem, you keep making money for yourself. And this is an easy task for us to do, because we don't have a profit motive. We don't take a single penny out when a rider pays to driver, and that's where we redistribute the profit back to the people who actually created this network. And this will bring a lot of loyalty, because initially when we started with drivers building a driver community, we were like very small, like 10, 15 drivers. But then we started telling these drivers, the more driver you bring in, the more source of income that you will bring for yourself. We have like 10,000 plus drivers, in our network today, because they understand this network effect.
That's incredible. I read some stuff about you doing a test with 10,000 drivers, and this is how it started. You did a smaller test, but once you created that incentive, it just went viral like this. So you haven't
Yep.
yet done the test with 10,000 drivers, but you have 10,000 drivers that want to. Am I understanding that correct?
Yes, yes, yeah. So the idea was actually we have everything in place. We wanted to launch the application last month, in the month of April, not now we are in June. In the month of April, the plan was to launch Drive, and we had everything in place. All the marketing campaign, app up, tested as well. But then there was COVID second wave in India, and the city has to go under lockdown, and that's where we have to stop with the launch plan, because launch has a lot of things to do with customer activation, going around and getting people onboarded. And I don't wanted to risk lives of my people at that point of time, and that's why we said, like, we have been building this for 2 years now. One more month will not hurt that much. But yeah, that's where we have kept things on hold as of now. We're waiting for things to get better in Bangalore, India, so we can resume with the launch of the application.
Fantastic. Thanks for the great explanation on that. Now, I did have a question. As I was reading through the documents, I've never
Mm-hmm.
owned or run a franchise, so I had some questions, not quite understanding how it works. So,
Mm-hmm.
the entity itself allows people to bid for franchises for certain areas, right? And can there
Yes.
only be one franchise, say, for a certain area, and somebody wins that opportunity? How does that work?
Okay. So what we have done is we have divided every operation unit. The smallest operation unit will be the unit for which there's a licensing requirement. So we have like local licensing requirements to run an operation for a taxi company, like a taxi aggregator. Like in India, the smallest unit for a state, like, if I have a state called Karnataka and it has like five, six cities, every city has to get their own license in place to run the operation. So the smallest requirement for licensing is my smallest unit of operation, for which we open up the bidding process. So that's how we have divided it. The smallest unit is actually linked with the real world licensing requirement. Now, how it works is, say you want to take up operation from Mumbai, India, okay, because that's the smallest unit for which you need a license to operate. We open up the franchisee application, and anybody who wants to take up the operation can apply for it. Now, from that application, we actually select the best three based on what they have done in their past, and how influential they are in that particular city, because we don't want to give away the franchisee to anyone who might not have experience, or who can't run that operation, because running a ride sharing platform is an exhaustive task as well. So we actually shortlist the best three. We take community voting to yeah, give the application, put the application open, let the people vote for who are the three best. And then we actually ask those guys to stake TRF. There's a minimum staking that is required to participate in this competition. Once you have done your stake, for with, like, say there's a requirement of 1 million DRF each that they have to stake, we open crowdsourcing pool for them. Now, somebody who stakes the highest DRF will win this competition. But now you don't have to necessarily stake all the DRF on your own. You can go to the community, because we have opened this crowdsourcing pool, and ask the community to delegate their DRF that they hold on your behalf. And in return, you propose profit sharing with the community. If I and you are participating in this competition, maybe I'll go and say, like, the maximum I'm willing to share is 10% of the profit. You'll say, I want to share 15% of the profit with the community. So community will start putting their stake for you, and you ultimately win the stake. You win the franchisee contract. So you are getting the operation because community supported you, but at the same time community will actually get real profit sharing from the real operations of a product. So we have added this DeFi world and NFT. The whole franchisee license is an NFT that you get. Once you have this NFT with you, you have access to that particular city operation. You can actually run the operation, propose changes as per the city requirement into the smart contracts or backend, or decide on the what kind of fare will be there. Obviously there will be guidelines that will have in place, but you get certain rights for that particular city. But at the same time, your community will make money when you make money. So the chain where everybody start making money, and we link it to the real world.
That's fantastic. I love your understanding of incentives. And so, my mentor in business used to say incentives dictate behavior. And
Yep.
so, when you align incentives so that incentives are aligned between the community and the franchisee holder, I love that. So, the community is going to be on their back making sure they're doing a good
Yeah.
job, right?
Yeah.
Because now, are there also so there's incentives for drivers to refer other drivers? Are there incentives for riders to refer other riders, or is not that?
Yeah, yeah, it's for both of them. And even with Drive, we have opened up cross referrals as well. So you'll still be riding initially, you'll still be riding with the existing platform when you join us. So you can as a driver, you can refer riders. As a rider, you can refer driver as well to the ecosystem. So we have linear referral as well as cross referrals in place.
Wow, you have set things up in a way that I could see this really taking off. In fact, you've already seen that because you started with a small group and now you have 10,000 riders that want to use your system, or 10,000
Yeah,
drivers.
yeah,
And what's funny is it's the competitors that have created this opening, right? If they hadn't
yeah.
continued to squeeze the profits from their drivers, the drivers would be happy. But I had some friends that drove for Uber and Lyft, and they used to make good money 8 years ago, and then
Yes,
they kept making less and less, and then they have to pay the maintenance on their vehicles, and they had to have up to date vehicles that look good enough, and just the profits weren't there anymore. And they still drive, but only during peak hours, hoping that they can make extra money to make it worth the time they spend in it. Yeah, and so they've created a huge opening. That's what I saw when I
yeah,
was looking at this. I thought, well, they're addressing a huge pain point that didn't have to be here, but because the
true.
two main competitors that I'm familiar with were not rewarding their drivers enough to make it worth their while, I could see the drivers wanting to jump ship. And if the riders are paying less, then they're going to want to use this other system
Obviously.
too. So
Exactly.
it's an easy win-win. But you took the time to really do your research on writing, asking all these drivers what their pain points were.
Yeah.
Let's see. Now, one of the concerns, I know many of my counterparts in Europe and the U.S. and other countries, we frequently don't have great access to what's going on in India. And
Yep.
so they were concerned that some politicians in India seem crypto unfriendly, especially the Royal Bank of India. Often, I feel like leans on the politicians that they have connections with to try to ban crypto. So there's always that concern. Is that something we rightfully should be concerned about? That one day, all of a sudden, a politician might ban crypto permanently.
Yeah, so there was a virtual ban that took place back in 2018 where banks were told not to do transaction with exchanges, but that didn't stop anything. They opened up the peer-to-peer transaction where we are still able to buy crypto and sell crypto, getting connected with someone else. But then I guess in 2020 there was a Supreme Court ruling which said, they removed this virtual ban from the cryptocurrencies and everybody can trade crypto. Obviously, there is no regulation in place in India yet. But what I have heard from the finance minister, they said they're supportive of the fact that how crypto can be used. And even like 2 3 days back, there was a news where RBI, that's the World Bank, you said for India, it's called Reserve Bank of India in India, mm, who said nobody can actually not any bank can actually ask a consumer to not trade in crypto. They have removed that ban. It's just we are waiting for regulations in place. As far as we know there should not be a complete ban on crypto. We are still trading it. We were trading crypto even when there was a virtual ban in India. So so considering that, there, like, it's not only about India, but every time across the globe we hear some or the other politician who holds up a higher rank come and say things about crypto. And I'll say it is all about their ignorance, that they don't understand things better, and they come and say, and then we see like a dip in the market because somebody said something. So I guess this is part and parcel of adoption for cryptocurrency itself. Like there will be few people who will say they don't support, but then there will be a time they'll start supporting it. We
Mm-hmm.
have to give the whole crypto adoption its own time and not rush things, and just be bullish on what we want to achieve with uh, bringing cryptocurrency in space. And I don't think so. Even if like anybody put a ban on cryptocurrency, do you think they can stop it? Like it's it's across the globe. Everybody, like I know not everybody is using it, but the people who are already into the system, who are trading crypto, who have investment in crypto, they know how it works. They know how to make their way around even if there's a ban that takes place. So yeah, that's what it is.
That's
That's
funny
how it
that
is.
they did pass that ban, but everyone just kind of dismissed it and kept going anyway and found ways
Yeah,
around it. Outside of India, we don't often know what's going on inside of India, so it's good to have
yeah,
you share with us what's going on. Let's see what other question I had. So you described a fair pricing model in your documents. Can you
yeah.
tell the viewers about that?
Mhm. So now this is something which is patent pending, so I'll not share a lot of information, but I'll
Sure.
share why we have something. Fair pricing model is nothing but taking away the concept where platform dictates the price. Instead of platform dictating the price, we allow market to dictate the price. Now here we are solving few problems. First is taking away the whole concept of search. Now, Uber has search price, and other platform call it prime time pricing or whatever it is. But when you go and read about what is search pricing, they call it as a black box, which means at what point and for what reason the search price triggers, nobody knows it. And because we don't know it, platform actually m- manipulate the system at certain point in a day to charge you more than what you should pay for, because they have this ability to dictate the price. They dictate the price for all of us. That's there. And also, ride-hailing platform understand the purchasing capacity of user and make changes to the prices different user pay. Like you and I might end up paying different fare for the same pickup location to drop location because we have different purchasing capacity. Now, when we say we are doing a fair pricing model, what we are essentially trying to achieve here is give the right to driver and rider to decide for themselves. Now, this doesn't mean that there won't be a price that platform tells you, because we have to make sure that the fair tariff that the local regulatory have in place, we have to follow with that. But also at the same time, we give this power to the driver and rider to make the choice for themselves, like how much they are willing to pay. Also, there's a very basic thing in the in any ecosystem where you deserve to know details before you get into a contract. you know you and I will never get into a contract without knowing information, or even like if I don't tell you, like I want you to do a work for me, but I won't tell you how much I'll pay for it. You'll not do it. You won't do it unless and until I tell you. You'll say, tell me how much you're gonna pay for it, and then I'll do the services. Very simple. But in this ride sharing environment, a driver don't know details of ride before he actually accepts the ride. Driver never knows the pickup location, drop location, or even the fare that a rider is paying before he accepts the ride. Is he get allocated to a ride forcefully? And I have seen this so many time in India. Like I told you about my story where driver asked me to cancel the trip. They don't know how much they're getting paid, and they don't know even where they're traveling. A airport ride getting 750 bucks for that airport ride is a loss for a driver. So that is something, and we see a lot of cancellation happening now because they have created a lot of problem for drivers. Now drivers are creating problem for riders. So what happens is, nowadays in India, this is so frequent that driver will call you once he's assigning a ride. He'll ask you where are you going, how much you're paying, and how you're paying, and then they'll cancel the trip. Now, why they cancel the trip is, first, they do this calculation of how much I'm getting paid and is it worth taking that ride, because
Hmm.
it might cost me more than what I'm getting paid. And then they ask us, how much are you, what's the mode of payment? Because in India, it takes 7 days for a driver to get the payment disbursement from the ride sharing company. Now, for something that you're paying on daily basis, you're getting paid from the third party after 7 days.
Wow.
And if you're not paying cash, they'll not get that money. So they'll ask you to pay cash. Can you make this payment in cash? I'll take you, because I don't have money to fill petrol in my vehicle. How do I take you there? So these are the problems that we are solving. And if we bring something where, actually, look, it doesn't hurt at all to anyone if you tell the details of a ride before a driver accepts it. You'll actually bring down the cancellation rates to huge numbers. Like, if a driver has willingly accepted a ride, he will honor that ride because he knew details. So these are very basic things that we are plugging in the ecosystem, which were there, before the whole technological disruption took place. We used to negotiate with driver face to face, say like, this is where I want to go, this is what willing to pay, and then you get into consensus, and then driver take you to that particular location. That's been taken away. You don't
Hmm.
decide for yourself. We're just bringing that capability back using the same, system where you both interact using your mobile application, because that's the world that we live in now. So I,
Yeah.
I always said this, no doubt technological disruption in mobility space made the topic of mobility very interesting for all of us to talk about. But there's a huge gap that they have created in this journey. And that's what we're trying to bridge at this point of time with Drive.
Very, very. Yeah, you're sharing this information. As you share it, I get more and more interested in your project. I was interested when I read it, but you filled in a lot of blanks for me in ways that have my full attention. Um, can you tell the viewers about your team that you have? Because I was looking through the docs and you've already organized quite a team from what I was
Yes.
seeing, but I don't know that much about them other than you already have a lot of people on staff.
Yeah. So, uh, I okay, the first thing about me, I don't come from technology background. I'm a chartered accountant by profession. It's like CPA or CFA in other part of the globe. So I come from finance background. I did not know anything about technology when I decided I wanted to drive. And my co-founder, he was actually working at that time. We were working in the same hedge fund company actually before we started our journey with Drive. And he was at that point of time, he was working on blockchain implementation for a hedge fund. He was part of a research team. That's how, when I went and spoke to him about, this is what I want to do, he said, like, maybe blockchain can be of help. So we both come from finance background. Like, I've worked with companies like Microsoft India and then two different hedge funds, and he was working with another hedge fund at that point of time. So we both come from finance background. Then we met the other co-founder, who's Mudit Marda. He's our CTO as well. Mudit is someone who's well known in Indian ecosystem as a developer. He has won a lot of hackathons in India. Known developer, got grants from Tezos, Chainlink, um, and have worked with Tezos Foundation India. Then there's Outlier Ventures he was part of. So I've worked with, a lot of known blockchain protocols and known blockchain names. And that's why, he's been called to speak on a lot of topics when it comes to, educating Indians about the crypto ecosystem or how blockchain essentially works. Apart from that, the day when I decided, okay, we are ready with the plan of what we want to achieve, I, you know, I didn't knew what sort of skills I need, but I knew, okay, this person will be able to do this. So I need a front end engineer, a back end engineer, a designer, marketing guy. We list down the kind of designation we need, and we started talking with people. Now, when we started this journey, We didn't have that kind of funds that we can actually get full-time employees on board. And we started sharing our story, like, this is what I want to achieve. And there were very few people who actually understood the whole concept of what we're trying to achieve. And we got like few people who got aligned with the idea, and we started working together without paying anybody anything. And that's something we did for like 1.5 year or something, just getting like, having a full-time job, but then working on weekends, working whole night to build this. And sorry. Yeah. And now here, when I am talking to you, like we have like total 70 people working in tech department and, in the operation part of the project who are working with drivers and riders closely, working to, like we have this whole tech team which comprise of 7, 8 people, which Mudit take care of. Most of the team that we have is from India, local Indian guys, who have their own experience building products, uh, launching product. Like my operation head has actually done a launch of a mobility platform before, in India. He was part of we'll say this, not ride sharing application, but a mobility application which gives you bikes on rent. Um, that kind of platform he was part of. He did a successful launch for them. So we
Yeah.
got like people who have done things which can actually contribute to what we are trying to achieve. Yeah, so that's our team. Yeah, obviously not very known in the outside world, or we don't have people like we just don't wanted to have people for the sake of having them on the website because
Yeah.
people knew them. Because a lot of projects do that, and those people are just the face of the product. They might have not be doing anything for the project. We are like real people doing real thing. Like, it will take time for us to even get recognized in this space, and that's fine unless and until we're able to achieve what we're trying to build. Very simple.
Your story is very compelling, and the fact that you could get employees to work for you for free as they were building it. I mean, some of the greatest companies came about that way. And so, through this interview, it's become clear why they're willing to do that because you're very passionate about what you're doing. There is a need for this. The competitors have created a huge opening. So
Yeah.
blockchain, so it doesn't need to go the blockchain route. That does enable there to be less overhead. There wouldn't be this big opening if the competitors hadn't made it so, and they
Yes.
are enjoying their nice monopoly that's going to possibly end up being short lived because they weren't returning enough value back to the drivers and the riders, and that's their
Yes.
fault. History is littered with short success stories that they took too much advantage of the situation that they were in and didn't return enough value. Would love to see this take off and be successful. A lot of my viewers are going to be asking me, how can they get Drife's tokens? Do you have a date for, say, when you're going to have a public launch or something that they would be able to participate in?
Sure. So, we have recently closed our seed and private round, but we are working for the IDO, and we're aiming for first week of July. That's what I can tell you.
Okay.
And first week of July, we'll have an IDO and TGE, followed by a DEX listing, and then centralized exchange listing. That's the plan. The actual date we will announce like in 10, 15 days, like what's the date, and we'll open up the whitelisting with the IDO platform that we are working with. But yeah, that's where you can buy DRF, and I would love people to get their DRF token at the price that we will have at the token sale, and hold your DRF and start staking it for the operations, actual operations, because we have seen like all the crypto projects, they don't derive any value from the actual world. Like most of the project I know in this space, they're built for this crypto ecosystem. Now our ecosystem is a small ecosystem, and everybody is building something for this ecosystem only. And Drive is a product that anybody will be able to use, no matter cryptocurrency or blockchain. You use a ride sharing platform to move from one place to another, and we want to bring that experience to this whole ecosystem as well. Like, you don't necessarily have to build something for people who understand this ecosystem, but something that actually derive its value from actual world is what Drive is doing for the crypto ecosystem, I'll say.
Now, question: when riders they pay using fiat, right, or a card. and then that gets exchanged to them, much like the systems that they're used to. They don't necessarily pay in the DRF tokens, correct?
No, they don't necessarily pay in DRF because, in an ideal world, I will want people to use DRF to make payment, but that's an ideal world. It will take time for that to actually materialize. And I don't want to hard push people to like, I will not put a fiat integration. You have to pay in my token. I'll end up losing people. I'll end up
Yes.
losing riders and drivers. So, I that's what I said, I always wanted to do this whole implementation in phases. First, bring them on board, make them use the application, realize what's different, and then plug in small features or small app, things like payment in DRF. And that you don't do as a hard push, you do it as a
Yes.
soft push. You tell them what benefit it has, and then people will use it. If you do a hard push where you say like from day one I'll not have a fiat integration, you have to only pay with DRF, I'll end up losing people. Like, I'll end up being an application which never took off. So that's why we
Yeah.
wanted to do it in phases.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. You have to go to where people are at. And like you said, the other
Yes.
companies have created a system where they're used to using, say, fiat to pay. And so if you give them a system like they're used to using, but you have happier drivers because the drivers are making more and the fares are very competitive or less expensive, then you're going to have a lot of onboarding and grow. And I would love to see
Yes.
this grow, do super well within India and then spread all over the world. I would absolutely love that.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, I love this interview. Thank you for your time. I can see you're passionate about this project, and I can see why you're passionate about this project. Yeah, so I now, where is the best way for my subscribers to be able to get ongoing updates from you? Would that be through Telegram? Would that be through Twitter?
Yes. Yeah, so the best way obviously is to join our Telegram community. It's drive_official is our announcement channel. And then we have drive_official chat, which is our group. Obviously, you can follow us on Twitter also. But the best way where you get all the update all the time is Telegram and Twitter. So both the places you will find us.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, Firdosh, I really appreciate your time. And yeah, and if it's okay, I'll continue to reach out to your assistant just to get updates and keep my community updated as this is
Sure,
coming to
sure.
fruition. Would love to see you do very, very well with this. Love your idea.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll see you.
Yeah, bye.
Success is falling, flowing like rain. The timing's right, we're getting paid. Come on, remakers, let's make this happen.